Present simple tense's positive statements look like this. I drink coffee. She plays tennis. We go for a walk. So each sentence has a subject and they have verbs which agree with the subject in the present tense. Now, in an earlier lesson on be verbs, we formed negative statements by using not. However, to form negative statements with other verbs, we use the structure of do not, like this. I do not drink coffee. She does not play tennis. We do not go for a walk. So we simply add do not in front of the main verb to form negative statements. So now we have verb phrases with multiple verbs, the main verb in yellow and the auxiliary do verb in pink. Now, when using the do verb as an auxiliary verb, the do verb has to agree with the subject. So in the first and the third sentence, we use the plural form as it agrees with the plural subject we and also the subject I. However, in the second sentence, we change the do verb to its singular form does, as the subject is a third person singular noun, she. In negative statements, the main verb must be used in its infinitive form, the unchanged form. Also, in everyday speech, we generally use the contracted form. So we say, I don't drink coffee. She doesn't play tennis. We don't go for a walk. Let's look at a few other example sentences. Money doesn't bring happiness. My friend doesn't have money. My parents don't like hot weather. So in the first sentence, the subject money is an uncountable noun, but it's treated like a singular noun, so we use doesn't. In the second sentence, we also use doesn't, as the subject is a third person singular noun, my friend. And lastly, for the plural subject in the third sentence, my parents, we use don't as an auxiliary verb. All the main verbs in yellow are in their infinitive form. Okay, so that's it on the lesson on forming negative statements using the structure do not. In the next lesson, for verbs other than the be verb, when you form yes or no questions, you have to use the do verb. So let's look at a few questions to see how they are formed. Do you drink coffee? Does she play tennis? Do they go for a walk? When we make yes or no questions with verbs other than the be verb, we simply add the do verb in front of positive statements, as shown on screen. However, same as when forming negative statements, the subject has to agree with the auxiliary verb and not the main verbs. So we say, do you, does she, and do they. The main verb is used in its infinitive form. To respond to these questions, we can answer with a simple yes or no, but we often include the auxiliary verb do in the answer. So we say, yes I do, or no I don't, yes she does, or no she doesn't, and yes they do, or no they don't. In the negative response, do and not, or does and not, are often contracted to don't and doesn't in everyday speech. Let's look at a few other example questions and their responses. Do you like comedy movies? Yes, I do. Does she eat meat? No, she doesn't. Do you exercise? No, I don't. So as you can see, each question begins with a do verb that agrees with the subject, and the main verb is used in the infinitive form. Okay, so in this lesson, we learn how to form yes or no questions using the auxiliary verb do, and how we respond to these questions. Let's look at the yes or no questions from the previous lesson again, as forming WH word questions is all about just adding an extra word to the yes or no question. Do you drink coffee? Does she play tennis? Do they go for a walk? Now, to make WH word questions, we can simply add a WH word in front of these questions. So in the first question, we can simply add when and form a WH word question. So it becomes, when do you drink coffee? The key structure is a WH word, the do verb, a subject, and a verb. So we can also add where to the second question and make, where does she play tennis? And for the last question, we can add why and ask, why do they go for a walk? If we want to ask, what do you drink? Then we remove coffee as it clashes with the WH word. To answer these questions, we can use the main verbs in the questions, but the information that answers the question will vary depending on the WH word used in the question. The answers could be, I drink coffee in the morning. She plays tennis at the park. They go for a walk to exercise. So as you can see, these statements use the main verb from the question form. WH word questions in the present tense using the do verb are some of the most common questions we ask in English. What do you do? Where do you live? What do you do for fun? So as you can see, we can ask questions related to people's jobs, where people live, and what people do in their spare time. But there are many other questions we can ask using this structure. So it's really important to learn this question form and be able to use it well. Here are a few other common questions we can ask using this structure. What kind of movie do you like? Where do you work? How do you get to work? What do you eat for breakfast? So these are some of the more common questions we can ask using this structure in the present tense. Okay, so in this lesson we learn how to ask WH word questions in the present tense using the do verb. In the next
Subscribe dong English tutorial.